Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, as you know, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was a 2024 action-adventure comedy film, which was the third film in the Sonic the Hedgehog film series, as well as adapting elements from Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. I think it has a slightly lighter, darker premise, but of course it's doing what I think the other two Sonic films did. Obviously referencing itself, trying to kind of use past Sonic references as a form of nostalgia. And I remember me and my co-workers, James and Sean, sat down to watch this in the cinema due to an early premiere. And I think after rewatching it again and my same thoughts when I first saw the film, it's average at best, but of course it's adapting with what there was from Sonic Adventure 2. So the premise of the film is meant to follow Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, who not only have to deal with Shadow the Hedgehog, who's meant to be a dark sort of reflection of Sonic, but we also see how they have to deal with not only Dr. Eggman, but also deal with Gerald Robotnik. And the whole premise is pretty simple. Sonic realizing that there's someone almost like him, and also Dr. Eggman meeting the first real family that he has, and of course to him, this feels like the first time he actually feels a sense of happiness. And the rest of the film is just taking what moments there were from Sonic Adventure 2 that worked, and just making a slightly watered down version. I think, to me, what made Sonic Adventure work was that Shadow, was meant to be dark, grittier, and of course hurt by the traumas of his past, but you could kind of tell when Ruth was in danger. He obviously showed signs that he wasn't going to see her end up getting killed. When Amy had to be the voice of reason to Shadow, you get this sense when Shadow sheds a single tear. He obviously knows deep down that a part of his past is still with him, and also the memories of Maria. I think what the film is trying to do is make a slightly watered down version and just not really understanding what made Sonic Adventure 2 work. I think what it's trying to do with Gerald Robotnik is just make him a dark foil to Eggman, and obviously, yeah, Dr. Eggman kind of now realizing that his grandfather wasn't the sanest person. I can see what they were going with having Jim Carrey play both Gerald and Eggman to symbolize what Mike Pollock did right, playing this symbol that what I think made Gerald work, because Gerald was meant to show what Eggman would become if he had kind of let go of his craziness and not been outcasted by humanity. I think they should have gotten Brian Blessed to play Gerald Robotnik, because not only would it show him to be a bit still the same as a kind of well-kept scientist, but it would have showed some elements of his old personality still there. I think what made Adventure 2 work was us as the audience could get this sense that Gerald's death left unintended consequences and a lot more harm to violations of trust, what was right, and how the world still made sense. Of course, we also do see how Sonic also has to still try to work with his new teammates. He is still trying to understand things a lot better. I think what the film also does is set up to the events of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, but of course, it does imply that the fourth film is going to base things from the Sonic CD port, given the fact you did have two other cameos of two other iconic Sonic characters. And it kind of also shown from the concept art that obviously we know Dr. Eggman is going to be in some alternative timeline or some other world, and kind of implying that he's kind of replicated whatever technology was there to copy and paste Sonic. And it's kind of clear the whole point of the full film is going to be adapting the Sonic CD stuff. I think what they were trying to go with Shadow throughout the whole kind of film is having Keanu Reeves sound similar to what I think made the other past Shadow actors work, because I think the point of any version of a Sonic actor is supposed to sound similar to Sonic's actors. I can see they were trying to match something almost similar to Ben Schwartz, but I think they should have gone with Simon Helberg, as if you hear his voice in Kid Batowski, it actually fits to what I think Shadow could sound like. A little more youthful, but a little more darker and serious. I can kind of see what they were trying to go with Keanu Reeves, was make him like a more grittier, buffer, and more non-serious version of Sonic. And I think my best thoughts about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it's an okay film, it's adapting with whatever was given, and keep in mind with when you had Mufasa the Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, obviously people were going to go to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3, as it was on the top shelf. It was on a pedestal. You really get the sense Disney knew they couldn't really compete with something like Sonic. So my best thoughts about Sonic 3, it's an okay film, adapting with whatever was given, and is doing what I think to please Sega fans, and fans who kinda go a bit too far with their love for things. So I think it definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, kind of okay, just average at best. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.